Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume today, we got two very special guests, and we have director Robert Rippberger and amazing actor Booboo Stewart. And he stars in the horror thriller film Those Who Walk Away. And Robert, of course, is the director, writer, and producer of this horror film. Robert wears many hats in this film, and Booboo is outstanding. And I'm really looking forward to talking to both of them about their experience filming this and everything else. I am Morocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters, and I am the host of the Grue Rume Show. And my interview with Booboo and Robert from Those Who Walk Away is coming up next. Okay, guys, welcome to Grue, and thanks so much for taking time out and coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So, like the first thing I wanted to ask you guys, because my show deals a lot with like horror, as you could see, and what are some of your all-time favorite horror films?
You go.
I love Friday the 13th. I love Friday the 13th. I have all the movies. I collect all the memorabilia, the 6-scale figures. I really, that's my favorite slasher. I love, but I was saying earlier, like I love, Guillermo del Toro's work. That's fantasy horror. Like I love his aesthetic that he puts onto screen, like Pan's Labyrinth, and there's a film called Climax that I really love that definitely that is horrific. Like. For sure, like all of the Gaspar, his films they're all like that. I love those. Many realms of horror I love.
Okay, sweet.
And for me, I mean, The Shining is just one I can go back and rewatch over and over and over. And then I guess more on the slasher side, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's Leatherface. Okay. I thought it was. I didn't see the whole thing. I thought it was Jason. But my goodness, I mean, especially the remake. I just thought they did such a good job. And whenever I go to haunted houses, I'm like, like that's not so scary. You start up a chainsaw, I am running.
Well, one of the stories was like that. Didn't Michael Bay produce the initial remake or something? And they put everybody in a theater and turned the lights off with just a black screen, and they just played sounds of people running through a house with a chainsaw. Like that was one of the things to get the movie made. Like,
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's some story like that I read. Like, how genius!
Amazing.
Genius. Yeah. Don't have to put anything on the screen and it's scary.
Wow, I never knew that. I learned something, and I'm like the horror guy, and I learned something.
It reminds me actually of the story of James Cameron wanting to make a sequel to Alien.
Yes.
And they were like, studio execs were thinking there was going to be like all these lookbooks and all these things, and he basically goes up and writes Alien on the board, and then adds an S, and then puts $1 and turns it into a dollar sign. They're like, can't argue with that.
Aliens.
Exactly.
Oh.
You guys are fans of like scary houses, haunted houses, and Halloween time, dressing up in costumes and all that?
Certainly.
I'm not a fan of haunted houses though. Like honestly, or haunted things. I am not a fan at all. I love Halloween. I go hard, but anytime that I'm in a place that they're like, this is haunted, I'm like, oh, why? Like, why are we here? Like, why? What are we doing here? Like, this is not a good idea. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near this place. I'm not trying to be a ghost to my apartment. I don't want them to come with me. Like, I'm like the opposite fan of like a haunted place. No. I cannot. I've been in this situation. It's just like, guys, why?
Not even haunted houses? Not even like haunted hayride in Griffith
Oh,
Park?
I like that. I like
Okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
really fun. But
Okay.
but when it's like legit, when they're
Well,
like,
yeah.
there's ghosts in here. I'm like,
Yeah.
why, guys? You're just playing with fire. Stop, please.
Well, didn't you play a ghost on one of the television shows?
Oh,
The
when I was younger.
Phantom.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, Julian the Phantoms. Yes.
Yeah.
I was a ghost. A very nice ghost, though. I was not a mean ghost.
Sure. So, Robert, like, what inspired you to write this horror film? Those who walk away.
Yeah, it came from I mean, one, it was like, let's make a movie all in one shot. Start there. Let's also make a horror film all in one shot. We're kind of looking at a couple different genres, and I was like, timing is so hard in horror films.
Mhm.
Like, we really just tried to pack as much things on top of this as to make it harder and harder on ourselves, and keep it entertaining. And so, I mean, that was the initial, and then it led to, well, let's look at like real life horror.
Yeah.
Let's look at like what it is to experience trauma and sort of live in that headspace, and to sort of seek refuge in others, whether it's like trauma bonding and the sort of solace that can happen with that, or the explosion. And yeah, you put those together, and add sort of magical realism to it, and then Booboo coming on board and saying like, how much further can we go with this, and amplifying the stakes and the chaos, and and then something that we're premiering tomorrow, and really excited to share with audiences.
Sweet. And Booboo, like, what inspired you to actually like want to play the role of Max?
So many things, honestly. The character itself, I love where he was coming from, what he was dealing with in his personal life. I thought it was very interesting, and it'd be a great challenge to just dive into his mind and just work out all the bits that had happened to him that have led him to where we find him in his life, and what obviously he goes through. I thought was really interesting. The idea that it was going to be a one-take film, I thought was crazy and absurd. And I was like, when will you ever get the opportunity again to do this? What else? I mean, meeting Rob. Rob and I don't know how this works. My headphones, but can you hear me now?
All right. Yeah.
Meeting Rob, we just instantly hit it off, and we had a great connection. And I just love the idea that he had written a film that he had written a movie that allowed us to have no limits, like creatively. And how often do you get that? Like when do you ever get sent a script where you're like, we can kind of do anything we want to do, like in the realms of obviously, it making sense. But there's so many factors that just played into like me wanting to do it.
Sweet. And like for a film this dark, like it's a horror thriller film, like how do both you get into a headspace for something like for you acting in it, and you directing and writing and producing it? Like how do you both get into like dark headspace for the film?
You want to start, Booboo?
Yeah, sure. It was so many different ways. I try not to, when I approach like a script or character, I try not to be like, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. Like, this is how I do it. I really try to be open. And I think a lot of it, at first I was really intimidated because I always take my hat off to people who are acting in horror films, because you're acting to something that's not really real. Like at the end of the day, it's someone in a mask, or at the end of the day, it's like you're acting like you see a ghost. Like, I don't know, like it's just not very, it's not tangible to me. Like it's hard to like make believable. And so I've always been super impressed with actors in horror films. So I was intimidated and I was scared. And so the way Rob and I approached the character and the way he had written the character beforehand, we approached it in more of a psychological way, what he's dealing with mentally. And so honestly, diving deep into like the trauma of what the character is going into and how that projects onto the rest of the film and like what happens to him, that's really where I was able to feel the most.
Okay.
And then it was a lot of like rehearsing, and then after the rehearsals, like standing there and just letting the feeling of everything we just did kind of like soak into the bones. But then I'd mix it up with like, I would be on set and I would type it, I'd find like the scariest sounds like I could find,
Nice.
and I would just listen to them before the takes or before our 1 or 2 takes that we would have. And just so like really switching it up, there was a lot of writing. I write
Mhm.
a lot of that.
Yeah,
Sweet.
and as a director, you know, it's first, it's just kind of like quieting everything else around, but then also, you know, trying to kind of create like a collective space for everybody to do their best work.
Mhm.
And you know that comes just you know, and really showing to people that you really believe in them, and you know it couldn't be anybody else but them, which is 100% true. And also, you know, in the scenes and you know putting things up on their feet, especially when we did so much rehearsal, is also still creating on set an element of like controlled chaos, that at any given time we may make a different decision and
Yeah.
do something completely different, right? It was very, you know, when we were rehearsing and getting things going, you know, I'd always say to Booboo, like, we're just trying out possibilities, you know, and we'll see what works on the day. And so that sense of kind of liveliness, you know, that then allows actors to be a lot more present in the scene, or sometimes just, you know, in rehearsals, telling Scarlett Sperduto, who plays Avery, this time, you know, leave him, you know, like don't invite him to the bar. And then, you know, to kind of create that sense that like all these things are very real, and the stakes are real, and that things can change at any moment, and also the freedom, you know, to explore within that.
Sweet. And what did you both love about the film, about shooting the film, being on set for it? Like, is there anything that stood out to you as like something you like best about filming it?
I think one of the things for me that like overall generally like the feeling I felt, uh, it was such a family unit that we all had. We the whole entire It was during COVID, so we all
Oh,
quarantined together. Literally, it was such a small we had such a small crew and cast because of like COVID reasons and
yeah,
other reasons
exactly.
that we all quarantined together. And we were just in this small hotel uh all together. And that was like something I really enjoy about like making movies. The process of it is like the journey you get to go through and the experiences and the mental photographs and just like all the memories. And I think that's so much fun, and it just adds so much to your life. And for this one in particular, the mental photographs that I've been able to accumulate over the course of doing this, and just the little moments here and there from everybody, and just the family unit that we all made. I think that was like, one, I think it was the only way we could have made this movie. And two, just it makes it that much better because everybody's really supportive of the other person,
Yeah,
cast and crew, like everybody. We were just like one unit moving together. It was great.
sweet.
Yeah. And I'd say that the thing I'm, you know, kind of most grateful for about it is that we ultimately, you know, Booboo talks about the tremendous freedom, you know, that we had to explore ideas and try things out, and also, you know, yeah, with a one shot, and also even just with the sort of magical realism that
Mhm.
we get into, that everything was permitted, right? Everything was on the table, and we pushed that so far, right? And that, looking, it's like this is exactly the film that we wanted to make. that that there were no contentions, or that this is exactly the way that we want it to be and exist in the world. And yeah, and when sometimes when you're working on bigger things, it's harder to do that. And
Yeah, exactly.
on this, yeah, really grateful for that.
Nice. And why do you think fans have loved the film? Because I saw like you showed it on some film at festivals, and you got like a lot of good positive feedback from like the crowd that's seen it. And like, why do you think the fans are loving the film?
I mean, I think there's a couple different sets, right? We kind of are introducing this like very interesting new monster,
Yeah.
that comes from like a very real place of like, sort of touching and sort of rotting from the outside in. And then also, film lovers who just appreciate a one shot and the amount of, technical know-how and finesse that it takes to pull that off. And then people who love horror films, that see this as something unique and different. And then maybe, if there's another category, people who are like, okay, I appreciate films with a message, right? This is horror, but it's also got something a lot more to it.
Nice. And how about you, Boo Boo? Like, what's your thought on like why fans would love seeing the film?
No, I agree 100% with Rob. I think there's so many things that people can connect with. Dealing with trauma, I feel like so many people don't talk about it and keep it inside. And I think, that alone hits home with so many people that I know. And I feel like there's just so many levels of that can be connected upon. Yeah, I think Rob totally hit it out of the park. It's just, there's so many things there's so many reasons why I like the movie. I'm a
Okay.
fan of movies, so I think there's so many little tidbits for like movie buffs and movie fans. The characters, it's all just so well thought out and room for exploration. Like past watching it once, you can watch it several times and find new things every time.
Sweet. Okay. And I am going to ask like one final question about it. And it's actually a question because of course I want the fans to know what the film is. So if you could say what the film is about and why you love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, the Those Who Walk Away is really a film about how to cope with trauma and the real life horror of what it is to sort of exist in that headspace and navigate that headspace, not just individually but with others. And yeah, it's something that's very true to my heart, and that definitely kind of put a lot of myself into the story. And I hope it's something that speaks to others.
Awesome. And how about you, Boo Boo? Like, what makes you love the film so much?
What makes me love the movie? I think for me it's different because we made the movie. So it's like what makes me love the movie is like the experience that I had doing it. I love the experience of what we all were able to accomplish. It's crazy to think. To think back on like before we had gone through everything we did together. Just reading the script initially. I remember like reading it so time after time after time, and like Rob and I going back and forth with ideas, and just like making it into what you see on screen, and just everybody putting in like their heart and soul, literally like blood and sweat and tears, literally everything. And that's what makes me love it, because there's just so much went into it, and the fact that we made something we're all so proud of it. I'm just like blown away that we did it and so happy.
Awesome. And real fast, where can the fans find the film at? Because the film comes out tomorrow. So like, is it available on all like streaming devices and stuff?
Yeah, you got it. So the film comes out tomorrow, February 11th, and it'll be showing for a week in Detroit, in Minneapolis, in Brooklyn, in Chicago, and also in Los Angeles, where we're going to have a little premiere tomorrow. But yeah, it's just a quick Google search away, and people can find it and watch it really wherever they watch movies.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys again for taking time out and coming on the show and doing this, because I know you guys are loaded with people wanting to interview you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking
Yeah.
the time. I really appreciated the conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Definitely. It's always good talking horror films, and I like your mustache, Booboo.
Oh, thank you. It's a work in progress.
Full handlebar next time.
Yeah, we have French little.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rocco.
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one.
Take
You too.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Booboo.